up in the sky. It's a Superman. It's a bird. It's a flight sim. It's a trick question. It's actually none of the above. It's Microsoft's servers having now exploded and launched themselves into low Earth orbit. Hello again, I am Blunty, and today is Microsoft Flight Sim 2024 launch day. How have you been going with it? Are you having fun? It's another trick question. You probably haven't been having fun, and we're going to talk all about that. Because it's kind of, on paper, it's launch day. In practicality, at least for the first 8 hours or more after launch, there's been an absolute flood of people staring endlessly at a screen promising that they're in a queue. Yeah, you heard me. A queue for a largely single-player simulator title. And that's the world we live in now. Bask in the glory of streaming gaming. This is the future. Isn't it awesome? On the one hand, having the title have a comparatively small install size of around 50 gigabytes, and then streaming in location, data, geometry, textures, and all the other assets as needed on the fly, if you'll pardon the pun, addresses one of the big complaints over the previous version of Flight Sim, that being the enormous install size. I personally had a 300 gigabyte cache file on a dedicated SSD for Flight Sim 2020 to avoid as much content streaming as possible. Now, on the other hand, if the servers are shitting every bed ever made by hand of man, well, then people who paid a big pile of their hard-earned to enjoy the thing are going to be infuriated and feeling ripped off, quite honestly, and probably asking for refunds and whatnot. Even those of us who received a free review copy of this product, as I did, even without feeling out of pocket, are feeling pretty frustrated by it too. And the types of people with zero impulse control or patience will gleefully do the review bomb thing on Steam because, well, it's the only way they feel like they can be heard. It's not behavior I personally encourage, really. I think it's kind of a bit childish to just fly off the hook so quickly at that and just review bomb. It doesn't seem like a grown-up thing to do, but, you know, when a whole bunch of people manage to mob mentality downvote it to the point it's just that big red text and everything, I suppose it makes them feel quite satisfied. Didn't really achieve anything, but, you know, whatever floats your boat, or float plane, as it were. The servers aren't the only issue, by the way. Far from it. The marketplace, that's broken, or just missing, meaning that everyone who already had purchased planes and enhanced airports and whatnot from the marketplace in Microsoft Flight Sim 2020, content they've already paid for and were promised that would be available to them in Microsoft Flight Sim 2024, well, they can't use that content right now. That's just out of their hands. Not that it matters that much, because the third-party content creators are hamstrung in updating that content right now by Asobo Studios failing to have the development SDK finished in time, making it super hard to get new content ready or update old content and patch it or even test it properly, so to make sure it works as expected in 24. Some people who have managed to log in against the odds are seeing all kinds of issues with models and textures. Look at that wonderful low poly pilot. Reminds me a bit of the low poly monsters we had in the beta for Monsanto Wilds, doesn't it? And despite being a flagship advertised feature, none of the Red Bull content is here at launch. Probably because of that aforementioned marketplace screw-up and SDK issues, because, well, the people in charge of that Red Bull stuff can't get it working properly yet. Add-on compatibility is also balked, probably also tied to the SDK problems. So for those very serious simmers out there who use one or more very serious add-ons to enhance their experience, well, they're out of luck right now too. Oh, and you still can't do neat stuff like fly under bridges. Yeah. Ask me how I know. I mean, it's nice that the Sydney Harbour Bridge finally made it through. You know, the bridge looks like it should now, instead of just being a weird road across the water. And, you know, Sydney in general looks way closer to real life now than ever before. A lot of the buildings have been updated. The textures are better, you know, all that kind of stuff. And the same goes through many other major locations, of course. They've all had updates.
Approach to Haviland Victor Hotel. Zulu Yankee Romeo is type de Haviland 3 miles southeast of Yankee X-ray November Sierra -0.
Like a glove? But there's other locations that they could use some more attention. Like this canyon wall just outside of Vegas, which the machine learning mapping thing that they employ to automatically generate some of this terrain. Well, it decided that these canyon walls are actually multi-story buildings, and so has festooned them with window lights from office buildings. Frankly, I love that. It's hilarious. It's like a little secret city down there. It's an evil villain's lair or something. I don't know. Right at launch time this morning at 3 a.m. local time for me. I didn't get up especially for it. I was just already awake at that time because I don't sleep right. Please have mercy. But at launchtime, I installed the Game Pass version for PC, and it went pretty smoothly. I didn't hit any of the problems people are having. So I went to work setting up my custom controls and whatnot, and my Stream Deck shortcuts and all that kind of stuff, just messing around a bit and going on a few jaunty flights just to, kick the tires. A few hours later, I went out to get some groceries, which is where I made a very, very large mistake. I shut the game down while I went to get groceries, ignorant of the massive issue everyone else was having. When I got back, intending to boot it back up again and record some gameplay for what was going to be a very different video today, but also about Microsoft Flight Sim 2024, I was locked out by the servers having exploded while I wasn't looking. So I used my review key for Steam, installed it there, and decided to wait. And it was 5 hours later. I kid you not. Literally 5 hours of sitting there on the second screen, just glancing at it every now and then, just sitting in the queue the entire time. And then it started loading. And then it froze up on loading the pilot character creator, which you have to do before you do anything else. So I had to shut down the game. And back in the queue I went. Sorry, I said that wrong. Back in the effing queue I went. That's what I meant to say. Woof. Pretty embarrassing for Microsoft all up, one of the biggest game publishers in the world and one of the largest server infrastructure providers in the world, and they can't get a game download to work properly on day one. Whoops! Now, all of that said, once the server situation calms down, and it will of course calm down, this is a temporary thing, it's not going to be like this forever, is it, Asopo? Microsoft, please tell me it's not going to be like this forever. Jokes aside, from what I see, it's already starting to stabilize. It is a damn impressive experience, when it's working. Not quite as knock your socks off shocking as the 2020 version was, because that was a revolutionary leap forward in the technologies they were employing to do this, while this version mostly refines everything even further that 2020 was already doing. There are some significant refinements, don't get me wrong, but it's not as great a leap forward as 2020 was, you know what I mean? I look forward to digging into the new career mode, which I already made a video about, or if you missed that, and the photography challenge mode, looking forward to digging into that too, right up my alley, that one. I'd wish they'd pushed more flexibility into the camera. There's still very limited controls and settings and whatnot, but I've already been having some fun with it, with doing the virtual tourism thing and the virtual photographer thing. If you've got Game Pass, I absolutely recommend giving it a go at least. Maybe wait a day or two, but zero extra cost for you if you've got a PC or Xbox sitting there and Game Pass active. It really is a very impressive technological feat that I do encourage you to check out, even if you're just passingly curious about it. And if you've never really experienced it before, aside from being a proper serious sim thing, it's got the new gamified career mode for you there too. But it's also really surprisingly relaxing if you're just sort of cruising about on a free flight, just flying low and slow through the Grand Canyon, following the rivers and whatnot. It's amazing how just sort of chill that can be. It's almost like a meditation sometimes. Let me know how you're doing in the down below. If you've already been enjoying Microsoft's shitty server simulator, is that what we're going to call it? Maybe you'll get to fly soon. I hope you do. As for me, I'm not closing the damn thing again for the rest of the day, at least, even if I'm busy doing other things like, for example, recording and editing and uploading videos, because there's no way I'm rolling the dice again on whether or not I'll be able to log back in properly when I am ready for more later today. I just want to pick up my controller and start flying. Thanks very much. So yeah, I'm curious to know how you're doing with it, guys. Thanks for watching. I am Blunty. We'll catch you next time. Thank you as always to the patrons scrolling away up above there. Happy landings.